Hi everyone, welcome to part 3 of my Helm's Deep toy box. Now if you've been following the other two clips, you will expect, well, you'll know what to expect in this clip. We are going to deal with adding little special effects with the siege towers and actually then have them breach the castle wall. So as you'll see here now, we have 3 towers slowly advancing towards the castle. And what we're going to concentrate here is, you'll notice there's a little bit of dust now. We're going to add the dust effect. So in the previous clips we've actually created the siege towers, and in this one we're going to focus on the effects that the siege tower has with the dust, like the ground is moving as they come through. But more importantly, we're focusing in when those reach the tower. Now during this part of the game we are going to be having troops attack the castle as well, so this is going to be probably about wave 3 or wave 4. These siege towers don't come at the start of the game, they're going to come halfway through, and the user is going to have to defend them. So we'll be defending people attacking on the ground, and then these towers slowly come towards us. And what I've got, I think, in the next clip that follow this one is that while we've got these towers coming through us, if we shoot targets that's inside those little windows, they are actually going to slow down, catch on fire and stop and delay their advance. So that's the plan for this one. Right, if I now move all the way over here, you'll see these come across. Okay, and just by adding smoke to the bottom of the tower, it looks quite good, like they're moving forward. And if you watch them on within clip 2, they look pretty tame, but actually they don't look too bad, and they are the perfect height. Now there is one slight little issue with the siege towers. The main plan with the towers was I wanted the troops to come running out of these little groups, but the problem I found is to have these little wall sections in the castle. I needed the tower to be even higher, and it just didn't go right. So what I do is I have the enemies appear because I don't want them to get trapped or locked. So you'll see here as they hit the tower, they get to a certain point, and what I want you to focus on is as they get to like one point away, you will then notice little bricks move from underneath the ground. They come up, and as they come up, you'll see them slowly. They'll move up. You'll just see them at the side. They come up the side, and you see them moving up the side. Now watch the closer tower as you see it come in. You'll see there as it comes up, little bricks at the side, blocks start moving up, and they appear. And then we have these enemies that appear in a wave. Now they're single enemies, but they're on a loop. So when you kill them, they instantly respawn again, and they will stay like that forever. Now obviously we have to have the option to switch this feature off, because otherwise we'll never get the level finished. So I'll also show you there's a far button in the end corner, how we can switch it off for a temporary measure while we carry on building a screen. But that's what we're going to show you now in the rest of this level. We're going to show you how we get these enemies to constantly spawn as they breach the castle wall. Yeah. So remember, if you're liking what you're seeing and you like how these clips are going, remember to hit the like option. It really does help people get noticed and see these clips, so I appreciate all the support I can get. Right, let's show you how I bring these sections together. So what I've done here is I've let the siege tower go right to the end of the castle. So where we've done the first one on the end of clip 2, I've just let it go right to the end, and it stops right against the wall. Okay, so if you've created your 3 towers, just let them run all the way through to the end. So what we're going to do now is I was then looking at different shapes I could use to go into the tower. So I've got the bricks here, I've got little square blocks, and they just didn't fit. They didn't go that well. I tried to get ramps again. There's no real good little options on the screen. So I thought, okay, what can we do? And then I thought, I know it. We've got those 3 blocks. Those 3 blocks will work. So we grab those 3 blocks here, not the life, and they fit inside the box. I can get 2 of those either side, and they can scroll up like that onto the castle wall, like so. Okay, so I'm actually going to get them moving up, not right to the top, just to that particular screen. So the question is, whereabouts is the middle section of that brick? So I just want it to go through this very middle and straight up on that list. Okay, that's where they're going to start from the bottom, going straight up. Yep. And that's what we're going to build on that screen. So what I thought, well, okay, let's get the path tool out. So let's change it to our creativity toys, and I can fix that on a path going up on the list. And it's a totally separate path, by the way, nothing to do with the object. So we've done the tower. What we're looking at is the floor to raise up. Now I'm just going to, so you'll see here, I'm just looking at where the bricks are going to go and how many I'm going to need. I only need 2. So I'm just going to place the bricks in a position where I know nothing's going to go there. So I'll just place the 2 bricks just to get an idea of where they're going to appear on the screen. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. Now if I go back to my creativity toys, okay, let's find the path tool. Dun, dun, dun. Find it. Get the path tool. We only need again 1 path. Yeah. So what I want to do is try and find the middle section. So it's going to be in the middle of this particular gate. So you'll see here, bang in the middle of that particular group between the 2 sections on the screen. So that is where I want it to appear. It's actually on top of the tyres. So as keeping it straight, I'm moving it all the way down so I'm just below the ground. Yeah, and that's so I can see them. I don't need to put them into the ground. And now I'm just going to work it up on the screen. Okay, so going straight up, and it's just in line with the top of the wheels. Yeah, that's where I want those bricks to appear. That's it. Just them going straight up to the top like so. Now the thing we've got to do here is we've got to set the various logics on this screen. So they will shoot up as we pick through. But what starts these particular options to occur? Right? They're going to be up from that path. As we come along the point, it's going to trigger this little section here and go across the screen. So we go to the properties of this box. I can change the speed. It's set to 100. I'm quite happy with that. 100 should be actually quite fast. And I want it to appear relatively quite quickly. But it's not going to be looped. It's going to be just one way and stop. Now I'm just going to switch these off to start with. Right? I'm just going to deactivate the path. Otherwise the bricks will start moving. And let's now connect these tools. So new path connection. Let's link this to the path. So we go down and we connect it to the path. Okay, and as you'll know, it'll appear bang in the middle at the various bottom. So what we need to do, like we've done before, is we just need to move this to the left and then add another one and move that to the right. So we're going to go to properties. Alright, we're going to go all the way down to our left and right, but one thing we are going to change straight away is that I don't want it to go up and down like a yo-yo. It wants to go up to the top and stop. So play once and stop. And then I'm going to move this item not forward, I'm going to move to the left and right, not vertical. Yeah, sometimes you'd have thought horizontal would be the case, but that's not the case. But just so the line is exactly on that side of the screen. And to be honest, after looking at them come up, you see they stick out the back of the tower. I might, with the finished product, just move them slightly in a bit, so they just move vertically up into the ground. But let's add that to the tool. And because the path tool is switched off, they don't move. Yeah, but I've got to make sure that when we start this, we have to switch it back on. If we don't switch it on, then the things aren't going to move. Right, so let's see. You'll see I'm looking at different settings, looking back. The other way. There we go. Bang in the middle. Perfect. And make sure we change the option to be one way and stop. Every time I go 2 down, I don't get it. Oh well. Right. So that is our options connected to the particular path. Right, and we're obviously going to need to change that to wood at some particular point. Now, how do we get that thing to move across? Right, well, first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we have the whole thing reset. So these 2 logic gates that deal with this whole siege tower section, we need to do the same thing. We need to link exactly like we did before in the other clip. So in this one here, which turns the items off, I need to do the same thing with these paths. So new logic connection, yeah, on output. Yeah, strike right down to the bottom. Can we turn that path off? Which it currently is, but can we just turn it off anyway? Yeah. The turning on section is the bit that's going to be different. So can we turn that off? Right. The other logic gate that we've done, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do reset and play. Now remember, you're going to have to do this for the 3 paths. I'm only doing this for 1 at the moment, but you would repeat this for path 2 and path 3. So on here, new logic connection, on output, can we reset and play? And the reason for it being reset and play is all ready to go when we switch them on. Yeah, but because it's switched off, they actually stationary still, so it will move them back down. So when we do our challenge marker to restart the level, because we didn't survive the night, it's going to kill us. Right, so that's that section there. Now, what makes us switch this thing on? What makes us get to this particular point? Yeah. So what we can do here is that when we move those objects up, they get to the top. That's where it's going to go. But what triggers that particular element? That's the big question. So is it when the actual tower gets to the very end of the wall? Well, no, it's not. I want the thing raising up. So because we've created a number of checkpoints before, so in clip 2 we showed you that these paths have points every 5 sections going across. When we get to this point here, so when we get to this point, the last point before the end stop, what we do is when point reached on path, we know now that we've got to this section, yeah, the tower's coming in, yeah. So what we can do here is when we reach that point, can we turn this path on? And that's why, as you saw the tower still moving forward, they were moving up at the same time. So when they actually reached the wall, they reached together at the exact same time, which was quite handy. And again, my object decided to throw me off here for a section. So I've just linked that to go up that particular setting. So now what I can do is I can change these back to wood. So these are going to change. And again, not to do apply all, just do them individually. Okay, so that now has got that section up. So when we reach that bottom across, it will set that gate going, and that will now move it on that particular list. So if we hit the reset button on here, hit the reset, and if we then press the button, we can now see this in action. That's the whole plan. So we're now going to move to the castle, and we will speed this little process up. Now I've only done this for the one tower, so if you're following this on from clip 2, we created one tower, but obviously you're going to have to create a tower for each one of these elements. So in here we've just got the one tower coming down, and we're going to repeat this for the other stage. But if I get her in particular position, and we will now speed this up as the tower approaches the castle. And as you see the tower approaches, you'll see the dot just 5 places away. When we get to that dot there, that's going to trigger those bricks to move up. Now remember, those bricks are quite a way down underneath the map, so as they come up, they just about the same time come up as the castle reaches. Here you go, and they look at that, almost identical. And that's purely by chance. I went with that, went solid, you know what, I can keep. And then what I'm going to have now is I'm going to have the enemies appear, and then they're going to jump out and attack us. Okay, so that's where I'm going to actually appear on the screen. They'll all appear here and fight us. Now, I was thinking of having them inside the tower, but they don't jump over the barrier, which is a bit of an issue. But I didn't want them to be, I wanted them to be there and attack us straight away. And for this Helm's Deep level, we're going to use the battle droids. So the thing we're going to use is we're not going to use an enemy wave generator, we're just going to use an enemy generator. And the reason for that is we can have each individual one of these in a loop. If you do a wave generator, you have to wait till the whole wave is done, and we want once the individual is done. So what I want to do here is I've got the enemy that's going to appear, and I'm going to need a locator to say, right, I don't want it to appear on that box because I want to hide those little red blocks, but I'd like the locator for them to appear here, and I want them facing the castle. Okay, now if you look on these locators, and I've mentioned this in the past on previous clips, these locators, only one corner has a little blue dot. So if I click into there, you'll see there is only got one that's got a very light blue dot, and that is where the guard will face. So I just want to rotate that round so the blue dot is facing inwards. So you'll now see that blue dot is now facing in. Yeah. Now that is where we're going to have our enemy appear. So we're going to do new logic connection, and we're going to do locator, and we're going to link it to that locator. So that is where the enemy appear. It will be there on the screen. Okay. So now we need to trigger the enemy to appear in the first place. And when does the enemy appear? The enemy appears when those bricks get to their top of the point. Yeah. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to create a logic gate. And you'll notice, and I keep saying this all the time, the logic gate allows us to change the rules. So by putting this logic gate in, I could have just sent it straight to the enemy generator. But if by putting it to a logic gate, I can close that gate, and that will break the code. So here I'm going to do new logic connection. On output, can you generate an enemy? And we're going to use it from the Twilight toy box where the battle droids come from. Okay, and I want a little slightly better than the battle droids because the battle droids get killed in one shot. So I'm going to use one of the tougher guards. Okay, so they're going to appear there on the screen. And what we're going to do here is on our locator, you'll see their little battle droid at the bottom there. I was doing it as a test. So if I click onto there and do new logic connection, when point reached on path, so when we get to the top of that path, can we input a signal into that gate? and that will generate the enemy, and the enemy will now appear. Okay, now what we're going to say here is new logic connection. When the enemy is defeated, can you insert a signal back into that logic gate? And by implementing the signal back in the logic gate, it will then send the signal back to the enemy and regenerate enemy again, which comes in quite handy. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to use a button. Okay, and this button is our little item to trigger. Instead of me moving the whole item back, I'm just going to create this button to actually send that signal off. Yeah, so I don't have to do the whole item again. I'm just going to re-emulate that person. So when I press that button, I'm going to send the signal in. Currently, the button doesn't do anything because I haven't connected it up because I'm a numpty. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get my Spark tool, do new logic connection, on pressed, can I input a signal in here, which would be the same as when that tower appears. Okay, so as you'll see here is I press that button, the enemy appears facing the right direction, and then he'll start to attack me. I will kill him away, and as soon as I kill him, which is great, pants, I get another one, and it's endless. Yeah, blown up. So it's going to be now, I can't finish this level off because this is going to be really annoying. I'm stuck fighting these enemies, which is great, but they just carry on going. They're stuck in a loop now. They're going to constantly keep fighting me. So I'm just going to jump in the Spark mode for a second here, right? So that button was great, showed me the loop works. Yeah, it shows me when it's connected. I press that, that all works the screen. I'm just going to delete that link out, okay, because I'm now going to switch that button off. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a new option to close the gate. Okay, so this button now I'm going to move into a different place. So let me just grab a new in fact I want that button back. Let's put that button back in. What I'm going to use this button for now is, now I have the enemy already there, is that when I press that button I'm going to close that gate. If I close that gate, no more enemies will appear. So let's come out of this. Okay, so if I shoot him, kill him, none enemy appears, right? So we've got enemy at the top. Let's kill him. Okay, he's going to die. Excellent. Another one appeared, so I'm stuck in a loop. Now if I press this, let's then just shoot a bit.
You're the target. I had to hit you.
Keep coming along. Another enemy in there. So I press this. That closes the gate. So now when I kill him, I can carry on with the rest, building the rest of the level. It doesn't respawn. So that temporary button allows us to stop this option. But that's got our logic that we need for these enemies to appear. So, what I've done now, I have now created my 3 towers, and I've repeated the exact same process that they all go across. So as they now go across, you'll now see that I've created the 3 paths, and you'll see the 3 little paths pointing upwards. Yep, and each one of those has their own locator, own enemy generator, which is fine, and I have this little button at the side that I've moved to the left that switches all that closes all those buttons once I've got it. And as when we finish this game, all these buttons that we've done are going to be deleted, and just the logic gate to the left on the screen. So the piece de resistance, the final bit of logic we're going to do is, I would like to have the dust and the dust all appear with the actual vehicles. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to create 3 locators. Okay, I'm just going to put this down here in our little box. Okay, this is going to give us the effect of the dust, right? And they're going to go inside each one of these towers. Okay, at this present moment I don't particularly need. I'm just going to stick them side by side. Okay, and I need 3 effects generators. Okay, where are they? Come on. Okay, and we're just going to place them in. So I want 3 of those, and each one of those locators is going to be connected to one of those locators. So new logic connection, new locator connection, link it to that locator. Okay, all those go to the same thing. Okay, so they are now all stopped. Okay, so what we do is when we press our reset buttons, Yeah. What we can do is new logic connection. Yeah. When we have an output from here, this is the button that turns it all off. Yeah. We're going to say, right, when we have that, can we switch off any? So new logic connection, on output of our off button. Can we switch any looped effects that we've got going off? So on output, I'm switching off all the loop effects with that effect. So we're going to have it looping with dust. Yeah. But when you turn it off, just so we restart, we can switch those actual items off. Okay. So stop any looping effects. That's just when it turns it off, can you switch all those links off, which is quite fine. Now, when we turn it on though, in your logic connection, when it's on and it's going, can we make the effects go again? So new logic connection, yeah. What I like to do here is on output, when we connect to this thing, can you play a looped effect? And I want smoke, and I want a large smoke area. I was thinking I was going to say something totally else there, but it's the smoke we want up here. The smoke around it looks like all the ground's rumbling. So again, it's on new logic connection, on output of this gate, which switches on. Can we play a looped effect? And we want smoke, and we want it of a large area. So this is straightforward. And we do that each one. Cool. That's that all done. Last one. Smoke, large area. So now that these are all set up, when we press the on button to trigger these siege towers to start advancing, the smoke's going to peel around the bottom and to look like they're moving across. But when they get to the end of the path here, when they actually get to the part that stops, what we want them to do is we need that smoke to be switched off. So when the siege towers get to the very end, we know that's the end of the path. So what we're going to have to do here is we're going to do new logic connection when point reached on path, and we have to do it for each set of gates. We're going to go into our effects generator and we're going to stop the smoke. So it's going to stop looping effects, and the smoke will now stop. Yeah. So the same thing again here. Go to that one there on the screen. New logic connection. When point reached on path, now we do the second. Not logic gate. These are not logic gates. They're effects generators. We're going to stop the effects generators. That means the smoke will then die down around the wall, and they are fixed stationary. Then they're no longer moving. Otherwise, they keep smoking. They look a bit odd. It won't look right that they're smoking and you're not moving anywhere. The whole purpose of the smoke was to look like the ground had been lifted up in the dust. Basically, that was the plan of it. Okay, so we stopped those effects. So we've got those on the screen. So stop the looping effects. Cool. And now what we're going to do is we're going to connect those locators to the actual path. So we're going to use new path connection, and I'm just going to connect it to that path tool. And you'll now notice occasionally they don't jump and move. Those locators just sit there because the path tool switched off, so there's no reason for it to change. But I'm just going to link all these up. And each one of these goes to each one of the 3 towers. And I've got the smoke appearing bang in the centre of the tower, so it goes all the way around it, and that should give it the cool effect that it does when you've seen it at the beginning. Right, so we're now set up with this option. Now back at the castle, what I've done here is I've got these gates here where the enemy generator appears. So you've got the enemy generator linked to the logic gate, and these logic gates we can close on and off. Now at some point, as the troops come through, they are going to be switched off because the enemy is going to advance into the castle. So at some point I'm going to need to switch those off, so we'll do that later. But when I restart the game, I need to reopen the gates. So what we'll do here is this little trigger button here, which resets it all. When it resets all the actual items, new logic connection, on output, can we reopen those gates? Yeah, so if we don't make the night, we get overrun and the game's over. When we restart it on our marker, that needs to restart. So we are going to say on there, when we press that button, can we reopen the logic gates up? Okay. And I need that with all three of them. On output. And again, we're going to delete the buttons off at the very end and then link all the key logic gates together that will set up the series of events that goes through. So each one of these ones, and I've got for each tower, I've got that scenario set up. So on there, can we open that up? And the final one. And that's that one set. So they're all set on the reset option. So we go all the way to the last one, fly across, and we set that to open. Now, as we've got those options all set across the path, you'll see here I've moved the button to this corner here, and this is the button that closes the gate. Okay, and you'll see there it's linked to all three of those logic gates, each one for each tower. And the reason for that is that if you don't do that, you can't then carry on finishing designing the rest of the map. So although when we test this and we have the enemies appear, I want to be able to switch it off and then carry on building the option off. Again, those buttons will get removed off. And just to make it easy, I'm just moving these items out the way so you can test the effect. When we finish the actual game, I'm going to move all these well hidden below the map so you can't see them at all. But if we just pull them to one side and out the way at the moment, still on view so we can see where they are, but I'm just moving away from the battleground. And this is where it becomes important that we had to create the other objects first so we can see where everything goes. Right, so move those out of the way. That makes life a little bit easier. And then it allows us to do a full test run of how this works. So let's just remind us again now how that whole effects works when we push these through. So here you'll see we've got the towers coming through, the smoke comes up all around the base, yeah, and that's everything you need to do now to get them across. So as they move into here, we've got this advance going through. So in the next clip I've got coming, and maybe probably give me a couple of days just to tune it. We're going to get you to try and stop those towers and give you a little bit more leeway. So what we're going to do is you can shoot little targets inside the windows, and if you shoot them, it's going to pause it for about 10 seconds, and then they will start up again. So that's what I'm going to look at the next clip. I think I've got it called as how to slow an advancing army. But then when they finally get here, they've reached the tower. Once they've got to the tower, they're coming over the screen. Now I haven't worked out whether we can set the whole thing on fire and just stop them from coming, but we'll work on that later. I'll still play around to see how it works. But as I say, they come across the tower here, and you can choose different effects here. What if we do set them on fire, and therefore you destroy the tower? We want to destroy the tower, how it works. Here comes the enemies, that's them appearing. The blocks move up at the side. And they've breached the wall. No! So now we have to do our big fight. And they keep coming. As long as we can hold them off.
Did that hurt? Oh, so sorry.
Cool. Well, I'll carry on building the rest of the clips. And again, remember to like these if you found them of good use. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll just leave you now, me just in this endless battle with these battle droids. Thanks a lot, and catch you soon. See you later.